In the entertainment industry, professionals of all disciplines use their skills to create what we know and love. This series explores the minds of the men and women who work in this demanding field. These are their stories.
Hey everybody, this is Eddie Bauer. Welcome to my third episode of Behind the Glass. I am so excited today. I'm glad to have y'all here. My guest, oh man, it is just many accolades. You know, I can't go down the list. He's a music producer. He's a podcast producer for LeBron James' show Uninterrupted on HBO. He's also a podcast producer for the 17 Weeks podcast based on the NFL. He's also a host of the NBA podcast called The Dime, as well as Any Given Sunday with his co-host Manny Brown. I hope I didn't miss anything. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Rodriguez. Dude, it's so glad to have you here. How you doing, man?
Eddie, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. You know how
conversation.
You know how I've been itching to get you onto my show, man. This is
really?
This is a game changer right here, dude.
Let's do it, man.
Most people think that this is just a platform for just about music. No, this is about entertainment, and we covering the whole gamut here. So, for my audience, hey, just let them know what you do. You know how you've been doing, especially because of the pandemic. We'll get to that later on, but give them a little rundown about yourself.
Yeah, so I do wear many hats. You know, I've been an internet TV host, my own podcast. I'm a podcast host, but I make my money and I make my living as a podcast producer right now for Uninterrupted, which is LeBron James's company. I produced 17 Weeks, which was a football podcast. Football season's over, so now I'm briefly working on DJ Khaled's podcast called The First One. It's on Amazon Music exclusively, so you'd have to download the Amazon Music app.
Nice.
And then after the All-Star break, I will be working on one of the NBA podcasts that we're developing. I cannot say which one it would be right now, obviously, because it's not developed in, contractual reasons, but I will be on the basketball show. I got pulled in last year to work on Certified Buckets, which was Nick Young's podcast with Shanae Obumike and Sharona Straxon of HBO's Insecure. So,
nice.
Yeah, I mean, right now, just basically a podcast producer, podcast host, but I also have a background in music production and hosting as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now I know you're in New York right now, correct?
Yeah, correct.
How's the weather out there, man?
Cold, man. Like, look outside. Look how cold that looks. Like, you could just see, like, it's crazy. Like, when you edit a picture, like, when you put warmth and it's like all red and everything, but if you put colder, it gets like blue and just kind of cold. Like, that's what that is. It's freezing. I hate it.
Now, being from New York, you ought to be accustomed to it. Would you give a little bit of a background about yourself, your upbringing and how you actually got into, doing podcasts and music production and things of that nature?
Yeah, that's a long story. Originally from the Bronx, grew up in the Bronx, but then also kind of grew up in Rockland County, which is where I'm at now. And music's always something that I've always loved doing. Growing up, I always just used to make parodies of songs you hear on the radio. And then one day, I just downloaded, at the time it was Fruity Loops. Now you know it as FL Studio.
Right.
And just started messing around with it, and I fell in love with it. I have never played an instrument, had no musical background, just except for a love of music. And I just kept going with it and, taught myself music theory, brought myself a MIDI controller, learned simple things like scales and chords. And I became like a student of music, which was pretty cool, completely self-taught. My friend Maria, who was our mutual contact, the million, she, in our town, I mean, she's an incredible vocalist, and we were really good friends, and she was big on encouraging me to, seek this talent. And she was very encouraging, saying, hey, you actually have an ear here. And, just learning synthesis and learning audio engineering all came along with it, because if you want yourself to sound good, well, you got to learn basic things like reverb and EQ and compression. And then, it's a snowball effect. That's pretty much what happened. And what happened was, going out to Los Angeles, I needed to work. I needed to make money. You know, I was pursuing a music career, but that's very fickle. It's hard to make money in the music industry.
Hmm.
And I ended up being a podcast producer because I knew how to edit audio. I was also creating podcasts myself. It just kind of happened all at once. It's something I never thought I'd end up doing, but with my skill set, it just made sense.
Yeah. I always tell my guests, the ability to diversify, I think,
Yeah.
is a skill you have to learn. You can't just, take in all of these different skills and all these different skill sets and all of a sudden try to expand on that. I mean, it's cool, but you need to have a wide range of different things that you're able to do and not
Right.
be stuck in one lane. And it's good that you kind of branched off into that.
Yeah.
Uh, so you're a music head, right?
Yeah.
Uh, quiet as kept, you're also a boy band
Oh,
enthusiast.
love it. Let's do it. Yes. Not ashamed, baby.
so what? So who is your biggest boy band favorite? Is it NSYNC? Is it 98 Degrees? Is it Backstreet Boys? New Kids on the Block? I mean, who is who? Who does Josh Rodriguez listen to as far as boy bands go?
I listen to them all. My favorite is NSYNC though. And that just kind of goes to like my background of music production. I like pop music. I like dance pop. I like upbeat dance music. And NSYNC was more of that group that catered towards that.
Right.
Backstreet Boys were more mid-tempo, which were cool. I like their stuff. But NSYNC had like the electronic like dance music going before like EDM became a thing and before that took off. So I'm a really big fan of NSYNC. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you never. So you
Like 'em
always
all, though.
wanted.
Like 'em all.
Okay. Did you always wanted to be Justin?
Yeah, I did, but I can't sing. That's why I'm a producer. If I could sing, I'd have like 8 albums right now. But that's part of the reason why I'm stuck behind the keys making other tracks for other people.
uh,
Yeah.
So have you been able to expand your music repertoire with
Oh,
any
yeah.
major artists or independent artists? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, just I love pop music, but I also grew up on hip hop. Love hip hop. My parents raised me on Motown. Huge Motown fan.
Nice.
Love R&B. Like I'm a huge R&B fan, especially 90s R&B, Boys to Men, and in the 2000s with Neo and Jay Holiday,
Yeah.
Case. Like I love R&B music. So I wasn't just limited to pop. Right now I'm working with my friend Landon, LVN. He's like a weekend type artist, more of an atmospheric R&B vibe type. I've worked with Madi. She does pop. She can do anything. So with her, it's just
Yeah. Right.
just do you want to do rock today? Okay. Oh, let's do an opera today. Cool. Let's do it. So with her, it's just like whatever. And then my friend Quab, who's a rapper, I've produced a few hip hop tracks for him as well. And then I have a few placements. I had a placement on a Hulu show that was more of like a hip hop vibe, like a West Coast Cali vibe. So yeah, I pretty much diversify myself as a producer, but pop is my main thing, but I could branch off and do other things as well.
Okay. So you talk about Maddie, and of course, she was my first guest on my first episode, which I was so excited about.
Yeah.
And she gave out a shout out to you, which is one of the reasons why I had to get you on my show.
Shout out to her.
Talk about your relationship because
Yeah.
she's musically entrenched. Of course, now you're working with the visuals, your podcast and whatnot. How close of a relationship do you two have, and has that expanded as both of you, go on into your different careers?
Madi's interesting because she's been one of my best friends since I was probably 13 years old, and I'm in my 30s now, so for 20 plus years, I've known her for most of my life, and she's a big reason why I do music. Like I said, I started FL Studio. Madi she encouraged me to learn more about it. She encouraged me when I didn't think I was good, and she just knows a lot about different genres. She knows a lot about the history of music. She's so knowledgeable that when you're learning, like sometimes you just got to shut up and just listen to her and be like, okay, okay. And that's what I did. Like I was like a sponge. And, if it wasn't for her, I don't know if I would have the confidence in myself to continue. And honestly, I don't know if I would be the producer I am today because she taught me simple things like scales or chords or common chord progressions that are used in pop songs and things like that. So she's definitely helped me out. And, being that I moved to Los Angeles on a whim, she did too. Having someone to be your friend and to always lean back on when you're on the opposite side of the country is always, it's very nice to have. especially.
Yeah, expand a little bit on that because I don't
Yeah,
think our audience really understands the importance of having, just that foundation, that grounding of
yeah.
having a friend or a mentor or a leader or somebody to really talk to about the difficulties of trying to make it in this business.
Yeah, so there's a couple things with that. We are people, we're creatives, and we don't get the typical 9 to 5 job, go to college, come back, go to the office.
Hmm.
And a lot of people just don't understand that way of life. A lot of people can't wrap their heads around it. A lot of people can't wrap their heads around moving across the country and struggling to pay rent and doing odd jobs so you can reach a goal or reach a dream. And having someone who can relate to that and actually want to go through that is huge because you talk the same language.
Hmm.
I could talk to someone who has a 9 to 5 job since they've been to college, and they can encourage me with certain things, but it doesn't sound the same. It doesn't come from the same spot. But if I'm talking to Madi, then she understands the struggles. She understands what it's like sleeping on a couch. She understands what it's like sleeping on the floor. She understands what it's like moving apartment to apartment because something just happened, and that's a real thing that a lot of people just do not experience when you're chasing a dream and doubting yourself and saying, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't tell you how many days I've had where I'm like, I'm going home. Like, what am I doing here? Everyone I love is back east. Like, what am I doing? I'm sleeping on a couch. I'm sleeping on a floor. Like, but to have somebody, who's kind of going through the same thing and has their own story and is gifted and is talented and that you also believe in helps as well
Yes.
because that they believe in you, and it's like this reciprocal thing where it's like, okay, we can do this together. And there's nothing like being in it with somebody, whether or not you talk to them every day or not, but just having that safety and security blanket is huge. It is so huge. I know that at any time, no matter how bad my situation got, I could call Madi up and she would help me out in a second. And she knows I do the same for her. And that in some sort of way keeps you from breaking, because I think a lot of people do break, or a lot of people give up, or a lot of people, I wouldn't say lose their mind, this is figuratively, but they lose their mind because they don't have that security blanket, or they don't have that support system that just one simple friend can do for you. And she definitely did that for me throughout my whole time, whether it be music or podcast production or hosting. Like, just the fact that she was a creative who's always taking chances on herself, it was easy to have that conversation with her and have someone who understood where I was coming from.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I saw on your IG you're an avid basketball player. You still play a little hoop?
Yeah. Man, I tore my meniscus. It was weird. I tore
Oh.
my left hamstring, came back a little too early, so I tore my right hamstring, and then I had to tear my meniscus, and I'm healthy now, man. But like, bro, I can't play like I used to. It is not the same. I haven't shot around since maybe November. The pandemic has a lot to do with that. Also, being in New York and it's cold, and the indoor courts aren't open, and I'm not going to shoot out in the snow. Yeah, man, I would love to hoop. I mean, once the weather gets warmer and once I get back to LA, I would love to hoop.
I'm
But
gonna hold you to that.
yeah, let's do it, man. Just let me get to the gym first for like 3 weeks to get back into shape before I embarrass myself.
You need 3 weeks. I need 3 months, man. Come
Well,
on.
listen, that's even better. If you want to take 3 months, that's great. Take 3 months. I will take 3 months with you. Let's do it. I'm down.
Is
That's
that
even
one of
better.
is that one of the reasons why did you get into doing the podcast with LeBron and
Yeah.
your affection for basketball? And uh, can you talk a little bit about that transition from being a music producer to now actually developing content on a visual scale? Because it's a little bit different. I'm still trying to learn a little bit about the visual aspect of
Yeah.
doing a podcast and doing a show. Uh, did that transit was that transition easy for you, or did it take a little bit of time?
No, it's very easy. I mean, because I'm also a host. Like, I've hosted on YouTube. I've hosted something for Red Bull Music. I hosted a pilot for them. I've been casted to do like be a sports anchor for different things. So like,
Hmm.
I've been a part of the visual as well. And then also like the audio and the visual, they're interconnected anyway.
Right.
So for me, my role at Uninterrupted is an audio producer. So I deal more with audio. The visual stuff is not really my end. We have other people who do that. So it's not that hard. But coming from the music world, for you, if someone just gave you a one track of like vocals and said, hey, just clean this up a bit, like, yeah, I can do this in like 2 seconds, just EQ it a bit, maybe add some compression, like, you know what I mean? It's easy for you. It's nothing for us to kind of just edit a podcast, but for a lot of people that's a difficult thing. The production aspect though of being creative, I think that comes from my hosting abilities and just me as a creative. I have my own NBA podcast. That's a big reason why I think I was hired by LeBron's company Uninterrupted, was because I can talk basketball. I know what I'm talking about. And without that podcast, I'm not sure if I would have been hired, because I do have other podcast experience, but it doesn't necessarily fit the lane of sports. So I think that's the reason why I got hired by Uninterrupted, which is the simple fact that I have the production skills and the audio skills mixed with the interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you being a big NBA head like I am, I mean, I've been a diehard Lakers fan for 35 years. Man. Come on. You growing up in New York?
Yep.
Ah,
I know.
the Knicks, man. The Knicks. Like, what is going on with that franchise? What is going on with them? Are you a Knicks fan?
Huge Knicks fan. Yes.
Huge Knicks fan. So I just feel sorry for you guys. Like
you should feel awful. You're a Laker fan. You have seen a lot of success. Feel bad, please.
The last time I saw the Knicks in the finals was with John Starks and Patrick Ewing. You know what I mean? With with Pat Riley as the coach. So, being a diehard Knicks fan, like, what is it really going to take for that franchise to get over that hump and get back to the credibility that, Madison Square Garden is the mecca of basketball, but you don't have a team to complement that. So what do you think it's really going to take for the Knicks to get back to prominence?
Man, I don't know, man. So listen, they're actually having a decent season this year. And when I say decent, it's decent by Knicks standards. They're 2 games below 500, which would be a catastrophe if you're a Laker fan. But for us Knicks fans, it's like, okay, let's see what we got here. They got a new coach, Tom Thibodeau. I mean, you hear it a lot, but it always goes back to the owner, James Dolan. A lot of people do not want to play for him. Mm-hmm. He's not easy to work with. He makes rash decisions. He gets in the way of the GM doing his job. He gets in the way of the president of basketball operations doing their job. A lot of players don't want to be in that atmosphere. So for me, it starts at the top. If you have an owner that no one wants to be around, that kind of just trickles down into the franchise. I'm not saying that like the point guard of the Knicks really cares about the owner, but it's still like a vibe that you create. I feel like the best franchises just create a vibe. Like there's a reason why the Lakers have always been good. It's because there's a vibe around the Los Angeles Lakers that induces winning. It's a winning culture. Like no matter who's there, it's you just know that they're going to put together a competitive team, period. Same with the Celtics, same with the Spurs. I mean, you talk to any NBA fan right now or casual basketball fan, like name 3 people on the Spurs. They couldn't do it yet. Here they are, like a 5 seed right now, chilling. Why? Because they're a winning organization.
Yeah.
So the Knicks need to develop some type of winning culture. I think they have the coach. Tom Thibodeau's cool. I'm not expecting them to win a championship anytime soon. I just want to get back to the playoffs and be a playoff team consistently before we make that next step. And that's just developing young talent, not panicking and trading everybody away for one player. Little things like that, man. It's just
it's hard to fathom NBA basketball without the Knicks being a competitive team.
There's a whole generation that's never experienced it. Like maybe like in 2012 when we were good for that 1 year, or like a kinda with Amari and Melo, but like outside of that, like there's a whole generation with their whole lives. If you're 20 years old, you were born in 2001, the Knicks have sucked your whole life. Your whole life, the Knicks have been awful. Seriously, like that's crazy. Like people who can legally drink and go to bars have never seen the Knicks good. That's absurd. That is insane.
I take envy in that, right?
Please.
It's kind of like the Red Sox fans when they went through their little trial and tribulation before they finally broke through. Just not on the Lakers watch, I hope. Now, what was it like when you actually got the call that you're going to be part of the company that works with LeBron James? I mean, I wasn't a big LeBron James fan. Let's be honest here, until he joined the Lakers, but I knew his drive, his energy, what he does for the community. It makes him one of the greatest players of all time. So to work with somebody like that, or to even be associated with somebody like that, I think it's a very encouraging and inspirational thing. Can you talk a little bit about when you got that phone call or that email or that text saying, "Hey, Josh, you want to be part of this journey that LeBron is on"?
So it was interesting. I got connected with Uninterrupted because of LinkedIn. the executive producer of the podcast department, which I guess he was just connecting with people who had podcast resumes, and I had mine up there.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick background. I've worked for Maria Menounos, who was on E, Ross Matthews, who was on E. I was producing his podcast at the time, so I had a resume. I worked at SiriusXM.
Mm-hmm.
So he connected with me, and as soon as I saw he requested me, I accepted his connection, and then I messaged him, and I said, "Hey, don't know if you're looking for a host," because at the time I was being considered for a hosting gig for Uninterrupted like a year before that. So I was like, "I don't know if you're looking for a host or whatnot, but whatever you need, want to offer my services." He's like, "Hey, not looking for a host, but we're actually looking for a podcast producer. Can you do that?" Like, he messaged me right back, which I guess, luck. And I said, "Absolutely." He asked for my phone number, called me, he interviewed me on the spot.
Nice.
Then he set up another in-person interview, which I went. This is funny because I mentioned my torn meniscus. I tore my meniscus that day.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up interviewing at Uninterrupted. He told me they were looking to hire right away. So in my head, I'm like, this was a Friday too. So in my head, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to hear back like minimum today or tomorrow, end of the weekend. And tore my meniscus. And I'll never forget, man, like, this was a time I didn't have an apartment. I was bouncing from like place to place and tore my meniscus. Ended up going to the hospital, got a cast. And, there's times I slept on the floor. Like, I was like, I can't, like, I had a credit card for emergencies. I don't have it anymore, but I had this credit card for emergencies. So I was like, I gotta spend a night in a Motel 6. And like the whole weekend in Motel 6, didn't get a call. I'm laying in bed with a torn meniscus and a cast, not moving. And like, when I tell you, like, I was starting to hit like rock bottom, like that was starting to become my rock bottom, because I was like, if I can't get this job, I don't know what, like, I know I'm qualified for this. Everything they need, I can do. If I can't get this job, I don't know like what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. So like, I was literally like in bed, like depressed with a torn meniscus, like waiting to hear back. And I didn't hear back for about a week. I practically gave up, and I was getting ready to like make plans to come back to New York, which is like the 10th time. There's like 10 times where I could tell you I was ready to come back to New York. I could say that for about 10 different occasions. But this time I was at Big Wings in North Hollywood.
I know where that's at. Yep.
Yeah. I was watching an Eagles-Falcons game, like Sunday night football game. And just got a notification that he just basically say, "Hey, we want you to come in for a week just to test you out." And I was just like, what? Like, I just went nuts. Like in my head, like I was like by myself watching football. It just sounds so sad. There's like hundreds of people at Big Wings, and I'm by myself, like with a torn meniscus. I didn't have the cast at the time. And like, I had no one to celebrate with. Like, I had no one to call at the time. Like, it was just one of those things where like, I felt like I accomplished something, but I couldn't share it. And they also said that like, we're just going to test you out. So I wasn't really sure if they were going to hire me.
Mm-hmm.
I never officially got "you're hired." What happened was I got put on a project at the beginning of the week, Monday, and I worked all the way to Friday. And the way they were speaking to me, like, they gave me a new laptop to work with. They gave me an email address. And I was like, I guess this means I'm working with you.
Right.
So I just kind of assumed it. I posted a picture on Instagram. No one said nothing. I'm like, I guess I'm working for the company.
They didn't ask you to take it down.
Yeah, so I never got like an official confirmation. I was also hired as a freelancer. I wasn't an employee yet. So like, to me, it was like a week-to-week thing, and then it ended up being for a whole project, and they kept me on, and then eventually hired me full-time as an employee. But yeah, I never officially got "you're hired, congratulations." It was just kind of like, come work. And then I was just like, okay, I guess I'm working now. So I didn't have that moment, but I do remember specifically like that interview, man. Like that day was tough because I tore my meniscus, and I was expecting to hear back that whole week, and I heard nothing, and I just was like, man, that was a really low point for me.
Well, you know what's funny is that the lowest points of your life usually happens right before the best moments of your life. So it's no surprise, dude. You always had it in you. I always tell my guests this. You always have it in you, man.
Right.
Did you get a chance to ever meet LeBron personally?
On Zoom, no.
But hey, that's close.
Yeah,
that's close.
I guess.
What was that like?
I mean, it wasn't even like he acknowledged. Like, it was, we were producing something. There was this thing during the Jordan documentary. He was our last episode for something, and I helped produce that. It was called After Party. So he was on the Zoom call, and it was my job to pin him to my Zoom call and just record him. So like, I'm looking at LeBron the whole time, just recording LeBron. That was cool. I mean, just the fact that he knew that I was in the room was like, and have someone acknowledge you. Like I didn't have a conversation with him. He said hi to everybody, and I took that as him saying hi to me, and like that's the equivalent of like dapping him up in real life. But yeah, that's it. I mean, it's still cool to be on the same Zoom call as LeBron James. It's
right.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody gets the opportunity to like see LeBron James in person, much less be kind of associated with him. But now you're working for this company. It's exciting, dude. I am so proud of you for that. So you get the call or you get the text or the notification that you're working. And now all of these other podcast shows, did you have those podcast shows before you started working on Uninterrupted, or did they kind of just develop as Uninterrupted was going on?
Yeah. So I had my basketball podcast, The Dime with Josh Rodriguez. That was something I always had. I've had that for like 3 years now. The New Pod on the Block did I have New Pod on the Block at the time? Yeah, I had New Pod on the Block as well. Yeah, but we were on a hiatus. Any Given Sunday came just recently. So it's something I've always been doing. And so Uninterrupted didn't really inspire anything for me to do. It just assigned me to different podcasts that they were doing. But The Dime is still something that I do coming up on my 100th episode in a couple of weeks, which is pretty cool.
Congratulations. Yeah. How was that? 100 episodes. I mean, I'm on my 3rd episode of this damn podcast here. You on 100. What is that like?
It's interesting, man, because I tell people all the time, if you're going to do a podcast, you have to be consistent. You can't do it like every so often because people will lose interest. And, consistency is the biggest thing if you want any type of notoriety or fan base. And so just to know that I only do one a week. So that means 100 weeks that I've done this for is, it's a proud accomplishment. I feel like there's a lot more to come with the show. It's nowhere near where I want it to be. But at the same time, I recognize that I have accomplished some things with it. I've been on the Apple podcast charts for basketball, like top 150 or something like that one time, which is cool. I mean, I know it's not anything to brag about, but it's still, to know that you're one of the top 100, whatever podcasts in the country is like a pretty cool accomplishment. So, I'm just looking forward to the next 100 and hopefully taking the podcast to another level and growing a bigger fan base.
Cool. I can't wait to check it out. I'm definitely going to look at that and a whole lot of your other podcasts and whatnot. I think we might, if I can get my phone up here, we might have somebody.
Uh-oh.
You know I had to do it, bro.
Oh, man.
You know I had to do it. I can't just bring you on the show and not give you a little bit of a surprise here.
Oh, man.
Look who I'm calling. You can't really see it.
That's funny. Is she picking up?
We shall see.
Wow. That's funny.
Oh, she better pick this up.
Your call has been forwarded to
I'm going to kill her. She put me on the voicemail list. I cannot have that from her. Me and her going to have a long talk. For those who wanted to start a podcast, I'm literally working on this with, a headphone mic and a laptop on Zoom.
Yeah.
Bare minimum, dude. Bare minimum, but I'm making it work. What's some advice you can give to somebody who's looking to do like a podcast or a niche to put out content?
So what I would do is, make sure you invest in a microphone. Make sure you invest in the proper equipment, and it's not much. It's a microphone. To be honest with you. You want your audio to sound as good as possible. If you upload audio that just sounds kind of unbearable, it turns people off right away. So invest in a microphone, invest in the sound, invest in a nice logo, brand. People need to identify who you are and what you're about kind of right off the bat and get a vibe from you. So that's very important as well. And be consistent. Don't say you're going to do a podcast once a week and not do it once a week. Be very honest with your audience. Like, hey, this is the so-and-so podcast. I'm going to be, dropping podcasts every other Thursday, whatever it is. But just so your audience does know, what the schedule and what to expect, because consistency is the biggest thing with podcasting. There's, even in the world I work with Uninterrupted, we have some athletes who do their podcast whenever they feel like it. And there's a reason why their podcasts haven't been blowing up. I'm not going to shout out any names, but
good advice. Good advice.
Yeah. The ones that you pay attention to are the ones that are on every week or every other day or whatever their schedule is. So that's important. Be consistent.
Okay. Let me see if we can get her back on the line. There she is. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. My audio was being, it was avid being diva, the whole shebang.
I don't think your mic's connected, Madi. I think you might have to change your mic. I think you're going through the computer mic.
So I'm not using this mic actually. It's just taking my sound from this because,
Got it. Okay.
I'm having an audio issue.
Gotcha.
How you doing, sweetie?
I'm doing good. What's up, guys?
Holla.
I wanted to come in and I wanted to sing a very awesome line that means a lot to me and Josh, and it goes like this. You got to trust me. Josh can explain what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. We were recording a song and we had a disagreement on something. I don't know. And I don't know why.
As we do a lot.
Yeah. So we're going back and forth. And I'm telling him, like, Madi, trust me. You got to trust me. And I'm like, you got to trust me, TYP. And she's like, TYP? I'm like, trust your producer. I was like, trust, and it's something I came with off the top of my head. But
throw that back whenever we have like another
TYP, trust your producer.
I was like, oh, Madi, trust me. Like, you gotta trust me.
Trust me.
I'm recording the song. I made the beat. I'm mixing the song. I know how I want this to sound.
Yeah, it's like, Josh, come on. He's like, you got to trust me. Like that, with his crazy hat on.
Yeah. We
always have a crazy hat on.
I don't know why.
A beanie or a dreadlock wig or something.
Yeah.
You have to trust me. And I'm like, oh, you're looking like Bob Marley. Yeah, I trust you. I would trust Bob.
Yeah, she would. And to Madi's credit, Madi would trust me. And Madi is very, and this is a good thing. This is not a bad thing, but Madi is very opinionated and she cares a lot about adding her own to her work, which is, I think, an artist should be. And, when you have someone else giving you another opinion, like that's you got to spar a little bit. You do.
You do.
So to Madi's,
and in case it's great. Josh's perspective is great too, because if he thinks I already got the take and he really believes that I got the take, then I need to trust him. You know what I mean? Sometimes if you trust your producer and he tells you got the take, then
so
you gotta believe him.
It's an interesting.
By the way, I love your shirt. I love your shirt. Very nice.
I'm in style today, I have my
like
Valentine's Day flowers. I have my camellia.
Aww.
I wanted to show up in style.
So while I have you on, I was talking to Josh earlier about, your long-lasting friendship that spans decades now from New York. Can you kind of touch on that a little bit and how both of you were able to kind of help each other through your growth in the business and to kind of keep yourself grounded and to keep yourself motivated and to really persevere through all the trials and tribulations both of you went through?
Yeah, you know what, Josh? Wouldn't you say the music helped us get through a lot?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Having fun doing it. Like we would, while you were driving me around to New York City and from Brooklyn to the Bronx to wherever else we had to go to meet A&Rs and people, you know what? We were blasting our favorite music. And a lot of it was songs that we made because we were proud of ourselves. We were like, our songs are cool. They're great.
Yeah.
Woohoo! And we were driving down West Side Highway like, on the George Washington Bridge. And we just, like, I'm not exaggerating. We would literally fist pump to our own songs.
There's no better feeling than that.
No matter what, it was always good energy and good vibes.
Yeah.
And Josh seeing me go, until I just had my chameleon cut with Josh, I didn't really realize, like, because you're so in it when you're going through it. But, like, I got put through the ringer a lot of times and met a lot of people who, they acted like they wanted to manage me. And then at the end of the day, they didn't have the credibility or they didn't want to put in the time. And then I just guess I wasn't fortunate enough to meet the ideal person who wanted to be an artist developer at that time. Artist development was, I guess, kind of falling off, and I just didn't meet that person yet. So it just wasn't in the cards for me, you know. But we helped each other through it, and Josh like coached me through everything, and he would always help me keep my head on straight. And like, Madi, you know, it's just not meant to be. Like, remember that A&R Gully?
Oh, I was just talking about. That's funny. Yeah, Joey
Yeah.
Joey Badass is manager. Yeah.
Oh, he was connected with Joey Badass and those guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there were so many people who just, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, I think it's very easy to take things personal when you're an artist because it's your creation.
And you're that young.
You're pretty making this is what I made, and an A&R can be like, it's not good enough or not what we want, whatever the case is, or you need to do something else that's not you. And it's very easy to take things personal. I think one thing I always
Or even worse, they don't tell you what to do.
right. And one thing I always try to tell Madi was that, you know, you don't have to be someone else. You know, just be what you are, just be consistent with it. And then eventually, you know, the right thing will happen. And, you know, Madi, you're still young. There's still paths you can take. Like it's not over for either one of us or anybody who's listening right now. I mean, anybody can pop at any age. So, you know, you've had tremendous amount of success, more success than anybody who we've grown up making music has had. I mean, you had a thing with native instruments, which is a huge thing. You know, I'm a producer and I use native instruments. That's something you should be absolutely proud of. You worked with some large people in this industry. And you know, it just takes time. It just takes time. I mean, we're so used to like the overnight success story. Everyone thinks, you know, we're so used to the overnight success story and we think that's how it's supposed to happen, but it's not how it happens for everybody. It's in fact
definitely
not.
It definitely takes time.
Yeah. So just keep grinding.
Yeah. I really wanted to, and I'm glad you brought that up about, you know, her vocal pack on native instruments because, you know, she was, you know, I wouldn't say in a dark place, but it was kind of uncertain. And, you know, I've always told her with her immense talent, anything that she want is possible, and just expand your mind. And, you know, the how will come. You just have to figure out the why, and the why is you have a tremendous voice that needs to be heard, and she took it and ran with it. Josh, was that the same for you? You have a story, you have something to tell the masses, and that you wasn't going to let one discipline stop you, even though there was a couple of rough spots in there.
Musically, it's always me fighting my own insecurities. I mean, I'm different from Madi in the sense that Madi grew up, you know, with music in her background, and she's insanely gifted, like ridiculously gifted, where I feel like my talents my talents are more like learned and taught. And you know, I'm a producer and I've gotten better on the keys and I can play, like I can do that now, but I was never always like that. So I would get very insecure playing my things because in my head everything else sounded like Beethoven and my stuff sounded like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So yeah, it's
when in reality, Josh's music was so fun to listen to, like up tempo fun.
Yeah, it always had my personality. Yeah,
like so fun. I mean,
so you know, for me, it's always just been kind of fighting off that insecurity and reminding myself that I do belong, or that my music is good enough, or that people like my stuff. And it's very hard for me to believe because I'm surrounded by so many talented people now, especially out in Los Angeles. I know Grammy award-winning producers. I know Grammy award-winning songwriters. They have been literally my roommates. Like I have roommates who have won Grammys. So to be surrounded by them, it's just kind of like me. I'm what? You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to like see yourself on that level. But in order for you to reach that level, you do have to envision it. So like that's what I'm trying to teach myself musically, and it's really hard. It's very difficult because there's a huge part of me that doesn't feel like I'm anywhere near the stratosphere that I think these guys are on. I hold them in such high regard that it's hard for me to put myself up there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure you think of the same thing, Madi. Like you're surrounded by all this talent that you can't imagine yourself being at that level. But believe it or not, you're on the cusp. So, what advice would you give to, you know, anybody? I know we explained it on my last episode about, you know, rocking all your shades, as you would say. What's some advice?
All your shades, but it's like to be fair, as an artist and a creator, right? There's always things we can learn and we can do to help educate ourselves more. So if you feel like if I feel like my vocal game is down a little bit, or like I just want it to get better, Josh, if you feel like there's more things as a producer you want to explore, like how can I get this particular sound or whatever, like, we just like anything else, we take time out to do research and explore those different things because, everything's always in the industry. I mean, in life, your craft is always ever evolving and changing. And it's just like constantly researching new ways that I can sing and new ways to do breathing exercises and new vocal things that I want to achieve, like new ways I want to test and challenge myself as a vocalist. It's like the same with Josh, as the music industry is evolving and changing and like whatever is happening and it's getting like always experimental. There's always new things, new trends coming out. So it's like to each his own, but it's like This is, I feel like, an industry and a job where you're always growing and learning and changing. So allow yourself to research if you feel like you want to adding up your game and like keep going and don't,
just keep going.
Don't doubt yourself ever.
One time I asked Ross Matthews and I was like, how did you make, he got incredibly lucky early on in his career, but I was just kind of searching for like why he was successful, why other people are successful. And I was like, well, why? And he goes, honestly, a lot of people who make it are the ones who just stay. He's like, a lot of people just go home. He's like, a lot of people just stop. He's like, some people just stay.
They say showing up is half the battle.
Just stay around, man. Just find a way to stay.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that meme. A meme. If I don't know if you guys ever seen it, of the guy who's digging.
Yes.
And
yes.
And like literally within 3 feet is the treasure chest, the diamond, and he stops. Meanwhile,
it got me when I saw that.
Meanwhile, the guy above him has hit the gold mine, has hit the treasure, and I think perseverance is underrated in making it in any business, believe it or not, but especially the entertainment industry. You got to have perseverance, and you got to have just that discipline to just keep going and just keep going, no matter what naysayers or outside environment or conditions may cause. You just got to keep going. So to see both of you actually doing that is, I just love it, man. It's so inspiring, and I hope it's inspiring to all of my guests watching or listening.
Hope so.
We hope so too.
Yeah. Hey, Marty, I thank you. Thank you for dropping in for a hot second and chilling.
I had to come in for a hot second and say what's up, some love to my fellow chameleons. I will let you guys go and presume the magic, but so good talking to you both. And Eddie, you've got a great talent here, and Josh, you've got a great educator and talent here as well. I mean, you're chameleons. I love you all.
Yeah, I love you too. Thank you, sweetie.
Bye. Can't wait to see the episode.
Yeah. I had to have her drop in, man. That was my prize for you. What's next for you, brother? You got so much going on. You mentioned the 17-week podcast. Of course, the NFL season of the filming of this episode is now over. Basketball season is still kind of, going full stream. We got the All-Star break coming up.
Right.
What's next for you?
So, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, because I do different things. So I'll kind of break it down from production standpoint. I'm going to be producing something for Uninterrupted basketball show. Can't say yet which one's going to be, but look out for that. So I'll probably be a lead producer or some type of producer for their basketball audio content going forward this season. From a hosting perspective, I'll still be doing the Dime with Josh Rodriguez. Currently, I'm on Apple, I'm on Spotify, I'm on iHeartRadio, I'm all these different podcast platforms. So if you just search The Dime with Josh Rodriguez, it should show up and you should be able to listen and subscribe and follow and give 5 stars and all that good stuff.
Yeah, right.
My goal for that is just to make that podcast bigger, get it on a bigger platform, get more eyes and ears on it. That would be fantastic. Hopefully have some video component to it shortly. And from a hosting standpoint, we were just talking about it, the guy who stopped too early when he was like 2 feet away from the treasure. I feel like I've had that a lot with hosting. Like I hosted a pilot for Red Bull Music that ended up recasting me for a popular R&B rap producer Chris Brown, just because he had more social media numbers. I've been turned away from different hosting gigs because of my social media numbers, which is really discouraging because I feel like, there's different ways you can evaluate talent, and social media is something that I'm not too typically comfortable with, especially Instagram, but I'm trying. So, I just feel like I got to keep plugging away, and eventually like that big break's going to come, because I've been casted for a lot of things that have either A, gone nowhere, or B, like I kind of got recasted for because I didn't have the social media pull that other people have had, or my name isn't there yet. It's just the reality of the situation. It is what it is. You're going to get considered for some roles that you deserve, and you're not going to get considered for some roles just for the simple fact that some companies value the numbers more than they value the actual talent or the people.
Mm-hmm.
So keep plugging at that, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully some big things are next, man. And musically, I'm dropping an EP this year. I've decided.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like some type of Calvin Harris type stuff where all the songs will be produced by me. I was with my friend Donnie about 2 days ago. He's going to help me mix and master it. And I'm really excited for that, because this has just been too long in the making. And hopefully Marty's on it as well. So look out for that probably by the end of the year. It'll probably take some time. A few months.
Okay, I'll make sure she gets on it.
Yeah,
you probably
absolutely.
got more pull on her than I do.
Oh, yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
I got some quick hitter questions. I do this
Okay.
with all my guests. If you had a chance of winning a Grammy or an Emmy, which one would you choose and why?
Oh man, that's funny. I would say a Grammy, because a Grammy to me is like, an Emmy to me would have came more natural to me, where it's like, I feel like I'm naturally charismatic on camera, and the reason why I'm a host is just because I have this natural charisma. Whereas the Grammy, like, that's what I worked my ass for. Like, I taught myself music. I taught myself music theory. I fought all these insecurities. Like, for me to get a Grammy would be like mind blowing to me. It's like something that I don't even I don't deserve to have. So that's probably why. And then also, once you get a Grammy, man, everyone wants to work with you.
Oh yes, oh yes,
Bring on
absolutely.
everybody.
What's the most points you ever scored in a basketball game?
I scored 32 points twice.
Oh God, dude,
Yeah.
I barely cracked double digits. Man. I'm 5'6", give or take.
Yeah.
So I'm always on the lower end of the totem pole when it comes to basketball. But 32 points, that's a lot.
I'm a pass first point guard too. I can score. Like, it's the weird thing. My friends tell me to shoot all the damn time, and I'm a pass first point guard. It depends what mood I'm in. Like, I can beat people one-on-one, but like I have to get into this. It sounds weird, but like a selfish mindset where the game becomes me versus, and I don't like that. Like, to me, it's a team game. Like, when I have the basketball, I'm consistently thinking, how can we score? I think a lot of people play the game thinking like, how can I, if they have the ball, like, well, how can I score right now? Well, I can't score, so I'll pass it. Whereas like I always thought like, all right, how can I get the easiest shot for my team? That's how I'm consistently thinking. So I'm rarely thinking about shooting the basketball, which is weird because I can't shoot. But there are modes every once in a while you get in the zone. And I got in the zone a few times.
So would you class yourself as you wouldn't be a Russell Westbrook type of point guard, right?
No, hell no. No. Yeah. My friends tell me I play like Steve Nash. That's what they tell me I play like.
Hey, that's a pretty nice bar to set for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool.
It is cool. And what do you think he's talking to Steve Nash? How do you think the job he's doing with the Brooklyn Nets?
Well, I mean, when you have 3 of the best players in the world, it does make your job a little easier.
Right.
They got to find a way to be better defensively. I don't know how they're going to be better defensively when you have a coach who's never coached before. Then you have Mike D'Antoni, who's never seen what he has never played defense in his life. And then you have Mari Stoudemire, who never played defense when he was a player. So like, who's going to come in and strategically guide this team on defense? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's what worries me about them. They could probably make it to the finals, but once you get to the Lakers,
yeah,
you have to play defense, because they're going to play defense. And you might be very good, but that Lakers team, they're big. LeBron can play perimeter and interior defense. AD is one of the best rim protectors in the game. Caruso, a lot of people make fun of Caruso, but he's one of the best perimeter defense. Like, they have a defensive squad. You're going to have to play defense because they're going to make you play defense. So,
dude, you got to invite me on your podcast just to talk about basketball, man.
Let's do it, man. I'm in. Absolutely.
You are a Giants fan, right?
Yes.
Okay. Which Super Bowl win is bigger for you against Tom Brady?
Okay.
Was it the Tyreek catch, or was it the other Super Bowl that Eli Manning won for the Giants?
It was definitely the first one when they beat the undefeated Patriots, because they were such huge underdogs. It felt like we were saving America from the Patriots. Like, it felt like we saved the world from an undefeated Patriots team. That was one of the craziest games I've ever seen. It was just no one expected them to win. They beat probably the best team that ever put together. The first Super Bowl I've seen, personally. So like it was my first time experiencing a Super Bowl championship as a Giants fan. So it was just a lot of different things involved with it. Where like that team wasn't supposed to go to Super Bowl. Like no one thought that team was going to go to Super Bowl that year. They
Right.
started off 0-2. Eli all of a sudden became competent out of nowhere. It was just like that ride was like you couldn't make that up. Like,
Hey,
it was ridiculous.
Eli Manning gets so much heartache, dude. I love Eli Manning.
I like him too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he could be a little bit of aloof sometimes, but I mean, he got you guys 2 championships.
Yeah, but his first 3.5 years of the season, like he was awful. And then all of a sudden that Super Bowl run, it's almost like all of a sudden like he Space Jam Peyton or something like that. And it was like, where's this guy come from? And it was, listen, they won 2 Super Bowls. I'm eternally grateful as a Giants fan that he was the quarterback that I grew up watching. But yeah, it was surprising that Eli Manning won a Super Bowl that year. Like
Better to be a Giants fan than a New York Jets fan, right?
That is true. 1,000% true.
Okay. I've never been to New York, so you being a hometown hero, if I were to go to New York for the very first time, which hopefully I will be going very soon, what are some places or some events or just the atmosphere of New York? Where can I go to get that?
I feel like a tour guide. Well, if you want to visit New York, what you should
Exactly.
do is go to the Garden. Hopefully, when we're back to normal and everybody's allowed in an arena, go see a Knick game. Go see a Knick game when they're playing someone good or it's a competitive game. That's going to be fun. That place is wild. I've been to a Staples Center. I've been to a few Laker games. No offense, does not compare to the Garden. The Garden is just it's just a vibe. I can't explain it. Well, listen, like the Staples Center is just kind of like this generic building. Like there's no character to it. I don't know what the form is
Hollywood, man. It's Hollywood.
I know, but like I tell people this all the time. I go to games in Philadelphia because Philadelphia is like 2 hours from here.
Mm-hmm.
The inside of the Wells Fargo Center is the same thing as the inside of the Staples Center. Like you could drop me off at like section 23 in the hallway of the Staples Center, and you'd be like, "Is this the Staples Center or Wells Fargo?" I'm like, "I don't know. They look exactly the same." It's so generic. The Garden has character, man. There's something about it. I can't explain it. It's something unexplainable, but you just have to experience it. Love it. So I go to a Knick game, go to a Yankee game if you're a sports fan. Yankee Stadium's cool. Citi Field's actually nicer, which is where the Mets play.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fun. If you enjoy being outside, go to Bryant Park. It's one of my favorite parks in New York City. It's right by Times Square. If it's during the winter, you can go ice skating and have dinner right there. Central Park is big. It's in the middle of the city. You can do different things. There's so much you can do. Go bar hopping in Brooklyn. You can go to the Lower East Side and go bar hopping there. Go out at night. There's just museums everywhere if you're into history. Statue of Liberty. There's just you name it, man.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do. Broadway, if you're into plays, which I'm not into plays, but every time I've gotten invited to plays, I'm like, okay, fine, I'm going to go. And then I go and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like it. Every single time. Like you would think by now I'd be like, I like plays, but it's always kind of like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I like that. So Broadway's always good.
Yeah, New York is literally on my bucket list. So I just wanted to make sure I get it from a real hardcore New Yorker, not somebody who, I've been there a couple of times. Nah.
No, there's so much you can do. There's so much.
Here's one good question that was actually suggested by your good friend. She said that you were an undiscovered boy band member. Is that true, man?
Oh man, so I had a boy band growing up. I used to go to like this after school program. My parents worked late, and so we go from school to this after school program, and we had a boy band called the Chip Chunks. Don't know why it was called the Chip Chunks.
Chip Chunks.
I don't. It sounds disgusting. It sounds absolutely gross. But we were like 8, 9, 10 years old. We just made up parody songs, and that goes back to what I used to say before, like how I started off just making parody songs and making fun of songs, and I loved it. I had a kick out of it. But yeah, that's I'm a proud member of the Chip Chunks.
She said she also got a white girl party pop playlist.
Yeah, we went.
Yeah. What's on that playlist, man? Come on.
So we were. So there's a club in New York City called Copacabana, and it used to be. It's smaller now, but back in the day, it was like gigantic. And when I say gigantic, I mean took up like 3 blocks, had like 3 floors, 8 different rooms. And I was always the designated driver. I don't drink, so I used to drive. This is during like the CD days. So I knew I was driving Maria, her friend Julia, all her friends. So I put together a Think Like a White Girl mix. And when I put the CD in, I told them like, this is my Think Like a White Girl mix. And they're like, what does that mean? And I was like, it's going to make every single song is to make all of you go, oh my God, this is my song. And sure enough, every single song that came on, they're like, oh my God, I love this song. So I channeled my inner white girl, made a Think Like a White Girl mix, and we played it all the way to Copacabana and had a great time.
Wow, dude. Hey, look, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me and my, growing audience on Behind the Glass, man. It was definitely a joy. I think I had more laughs here than I had in the last few months, man. Really excited. I'm so happy to have you on, and congratulations on all your success. You got so much going for you, and I can't wait to see the next level of Josh Rodriguez. Anything you want to add before we call this a done deal?
Well, first of all, thanks, Eddie, for having me on. I really appreciate it. Definitely got to get you on the dime. It'd be fun to talk basketball with you.
Yeah.
So, got to return the favor at some point. Right now, if you want to follow the dime, it's at the Dime NBA on all Twitter, Instagram platforms, all that stuff. At the Dime NBA. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. Just follow me. I like I said, I'm releasing an EP later out in the year. If you're a sports fan, I will let you know about the podcast that I'm producing for Uninterrupted. If you're a basketball fan, you can follow me for Dime stuff. New Pod on the Block is the boy band podcast that you were talking about before at New Pod on the Block. Me and my host, Mike Zacchio, we talk boy band culture and 90s culture. We're going to release season 3 probably within a month and a half or so. So season 3 is coming up. And then I also get very political, believe it or not. I have some strong opinions on politics and what's going on in our country. And any given Sunday,
we all.
with Manny Brown, we record every Sunday. And you can follow that at AGS Pod. So a lot going on. And if you just to make it easy, just follow me at Josh_Rodriguez_, and you'll see everything.
Yeah, I'll make it easy for you. I'll make sure to put all the links in the description below. Josh, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, brother, for saying yes. That's the most important thing.
Yes.
45 minutes to an hour. I tell you guys, that's all I need. And you're going to get great informational, educational, entertaining content. I promise you that. And he
absolutely
delivered on the spot. Josh, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Well, as I say, that's it for Behind the Glass. I'll see you on the next episode. I'm out of here, man.